the time decided to take the bailout money offered by the Troika without addressing the systemic root of the Greek depression? Meaning they were afraid of making demands of their own that would start a panic and they wouldn't get their bailout?
The systemic root, that's right, which was European, not Greek, because if it was Greek, then why did Portugal and Ireland got bailed out? And why is Spain and Italy in trouble? The problem is obviously European. But instead of addressing it, as you said, what they did was create the whole rhetoric about the bankrupt, lazy Greeks who need to be thrown out of the Eurozone because they didn't comply with several rules of the monetary union. Rules impossible to comply with, and rules that the Germans and French were the first to have violated.
Right. Like, that was all just the most awful part. So you mean that they were saying Greece violated their made-up rules for fiscal responsibility? They stressed criteria for Greece, but is there any regulation on what types of loans can be made? Meaning, Greece has to comply with certain economic standards set by the union, but what I don't understand is, do the banks?
That's a good point. Well, good point. What we're talking about here is the Maastricht Treaty and what's called the Stability and Growth Pact, those sort of things. Mm-hmm. Well, the banks get to do whatever they want, as always. A banking union was never installed in the Eurozone so that you can deal with corrupt banks and bankrupt banks in a centralized manner. And as we already mentioned, there was, and still is, no investment policy. That's the important part. Now, what matters is that these criteria for the governments could be met. They just couldn't. Mm-hmm. You can't force an economy to be what you want it to be. It has a dynamic of its own. And most importantly, the rules were written by people who thought that something like the 2008 financial crash was impossible. The models didn't predict a crash, so why prepare for it? They thought the bubbles would last forever, and they were lovely creations of the free market, increasing productivity in mysterious ways. Well, back to the point. Let me go back to the point. The main thing is to understand is that they coerced the Greek government to accept a huge loan from the European taxpayer in order to meet payments to the bondholders, effectively bailing out the banks and leaving the Greek taxpayer indebted to the European taxpayer, creating friction between them and leaving the European taxpayer having to take the hit of an inevitable haircut. Because, of course, Greece can't possibly ever pay back.
I mean, and how could it? Because the economy being in such bad shape because of austerity and deflationary policies. So austerity comes into play big time here. Can we go into that for a second?
Yes. What they also did was impose austerity, as you pointed out.
Right.
And policies that would destroy and have destroyed the Greek economy, making it even less able to pay, as you correctly pointed out.
So, okay. Let's give a quick recap. I would say at this time, so the German banks pushed their excess currencies onto the smallest countries in the European Union. And you correct me as I go along, because I'm going to try to recap. Then the 2007 economic depression hits, and the depression is exported onto the bond markets of these same small countries. When those countries can't pay or roll over their debts, the EU provides Greece with a loan to pay back the bankers, demanding that the government implement extreme austerity. The government puts the lives of people at risk so the banks don't take a loss. That's the priority. The banks don't take a loss. On top of all that, the rest of the European community then took the vile name-calling of you guys, the Greeks, and threats against the Greek people. They called the Greeks lazy and suggested they brought it on themselves. I was reading recently that Greece has the highest number of annual work hours of all employees in the EU. So calling the Greeks lazy is factually beyond incorrect. They said Greeks are poor and want something for nothing, but Greece is a developed country. and you guys had the highest standard of living with a, I was reading too, wrote down this fact, a ranking of 29 worldwide in 2012.
Mhm.
And so they're making all these slanders against Greece, which was the part of the propaganda to blame it on you guys. And then they had the gall to talk about European solidarity. Like, well,
Europeans said, yes, it's Orwellian. This was never a bailout of Greece. It was once again a bank bailout. In fact, 96% of the money lent to Greece never even made it to Greece. It was immediately directed towards these big banks, the bondholders.
let's just put that in all caps so everybody remembers this. This was never a bailout of Greece. It was a bank bailout. And so you're saying 96% of the money never came back to Greece, never made it back to Greece.
Yes, it was just loans to pay back previous loans.
We were told in the news, well, we're going to go to a break. I hear the music starting, and we'll continue with this on the other side. Thank you for being with us, Michael, and giving us this overview. You've been listening to World's Crisis. I'm hosting this week for Webster Tarpley, and I am so happy to find out that we got Reverend Pinckney to get through on the line. Reverend, I need you to tell us what happened on the 14th, because our entire audience is anxious to know the details of what happened. And also let us know, are you still in Coldwater? Did they send you back to Coldwater?
Yeah, I'm back in Coldwater as we speak. But Tuesday was a day of history making. One of the things that happened, we went in there we requested a new trial because of that juror. And we basically had her up against the wall. And unfortunately, it looked like my attorney, he just didn't pull the trigger to go into details, because it was crucial that he asked certain questions and get certain answers, and he failed to do so, and it was rejected. And I kind of figured they was going to do that anyway, but what we did, we made a record of it for the appeal court more than anything else. And it really was a shamble. And anytime you're dealing with a criminal enterprise, that's what you get when you go down to when you go back to trial court. Because the only time they're going to give you some kind of play when you go to the appeal court, and the appeal court makes them do it. And I think that we got a great chance and a great opportunity to do something. Also, they requested that I pay $1,700 to this sleazeball mayor, which really didn't make no sense at all.
That's just unbelievable. He's a public figure, and he's supposed to be subject to public protest.
Absolutely, and but it's a sham. But we're counting now that we're just 1 or 2 steps away from getting the transcript and going straight into the appeal court, and that's where we need to be. But this is what I need people to start doing. We need to start spreading the word around about this criminal enterprise in Barron County, Michigan. They're operating like criminals. You got a judge with no integrity at all, Judge Sterling Sharrock. You got the prosecutor, Michael Steppick, definitely don't have any scruples. And then you got the sheriff himself, Paul Bailey. And what they have done is almost ridiculous. But yet still, we have to make sure that we hold them accountable for their actions and their inaction of wrongdoing. Unless we're able to do that, we're doing nothing but spinning our wheels. So we're moving forward, and we're taking this thing to a whole different level. And we want to make sure people understand. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, we heard, Reverend, that the amount of protesters at the trial on the 14th was the largest yet, that you had over 200 people, so this is growing. Also, Jill Stein from the Green Party came out, so this is not getting smaller, it's getting much bigger.
Oh, absolutely. But Danielle, the key thing is that we must spread the word. We must let people know exactly what is going on and what's going around. It's not here. See, I'm here at Coldwater and Coldwater Penitentiary. And when you think about the penitentiary, you don't really realize that some people here in this penitentiary, they need to be at home with their families. They believe in locking them up and throwing away the key. Because the people on the outside think that they're such terrible people inside the prison system. I'm here, and they know I'm not a terrible guy. So we know that we need to let some of these folks that's in this prison out of this prison. And the way to do it, we have to let the people on the outside understand that this is a money-making project. That's what it is. It's a money-making project. Anytime that they send someone to prison nowadays, it's about the dollar sign. And it's like they told me, you don't need no evidence to send somebody to prison. We don't need no evidence to convict someone. And that's really what's going on. So it's crucial, Danielle. Even on Webster Tarpley Show today, which is one of the biggest shows I know, and I'm just grateful that you're hosting for them, and I get a chance to talk about the foods here at Coldwater. The food is so terrible that they wouldn't even feed it to a dog, and it's just that bad. But
Reverend, are we allowed to mail you care boxes of food like Power Bars, or not? Will they take that away?
No, but Dorothy will tell you how to get. If you want to send me something, Dorothy will tell you how to do it.
Okay.
But I want people out there also to remember this, which is crucial. It's crucial that people understand that the people here in this prison itself, well, they need our help. And we have to spread the word, because it's time that they open the doors here and start letting some of these folks go home to their families. And
we're living under fascism.
Say that again?
We're living under fascism. They took our jobs, they destroyed our standard of living, and they shipped us all to prison. Mostly black.
It's here. It's here. It's right here. Matter of fact, I'm witnessing this right now. It's not about justice. It's not about anything like that. It's all about control and making sure that they send people. It's the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, you see. And it's crucial. Anytime that you have a country that won't feed, house, and clothe its people, it got to be overturned. So I'm excited, Danielle. I'm excited to be on this show telling people what's going on, and it's just tremendous. But remember this. We got to get enough money to pay for that transcript. So those of you out there, I want them to go to bhbanco.org.